and co-host the incomparable Dr. The Real Deal Love, Edward Johnson. Sit back and relax while we give you advice and tips on business matters and matters of the heart for busy executives. And now, Katrina and Edward. Hello, hello, hello. This is Katrina Brittingham, your navigator on the road to success, and this is another High Tea with me. And as promised, we are continuing from last week's conversation just so we can keep it alive and fresh for
hmm
you in your mind. And you don't have to go back a whole month, be like, what they talked about, what last month? So we are picking this conversation back up, and I'm going to put you in the hands of the incomparable Doctor, the Real Deal Love.
Hello, hello, hello. Part two. How are you doing this week? I hope you had a great week. I hope things are doing well for you. And if not, keep your head up because the best is yet to come. They said the only difference between a big shot and a little shot is the big shot kept on shooting. Keep shooting. Okay? Keep shooting.
I thought
You
you was gonna
win
say
at
the
the
big
end.
shot. The big shot was in a bigger cup, bigger shot glass.
Biggest shot glass. No, the big shot just kept on shooting it. And that's the whole thing. The whole key to success. And Les Brown said that to me one time when I met him. I told him to write something for me. He said he took a minute and he thought about it and he wrote down the words. He said, never give up. And he explained to me. He said, that may not sound like a whole lot, but he said, this is powerful. Never give up. Okay. That's how you win. Okay. It's not how well you play, how smart you are, or how talented you are. Some of the best and brightest gave up before they finished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why it's important to understand you've got to stay with it. Okay. I think it was Denzel Washington said, it's important to be consistent and committed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because if you're not committed, you don't get started. And if you're not consistent, you won't finish.
Right.
Committed and consistent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about being committed in love and consistent in love. Okay. So where do we leave off at? What were we talking about?
We were talking about the 3 points. Um, Number one, how to spot the red flags when you are participating. I'll put it that way in a
hmm
relationship like you should. Um, Working on your faults, your mistakes, working on fixing that. Um, as far as the inspiring of the man within the relationship,
hmm
because you can inspire them in the beginning. They're inspired to walk up to you,
hmm
um, and also for um, the women who have had relationships where they have done all of that, worked on themselves and everything like that, and the guy still left because apparently there was still a lack of inspiration there. So it's
hmm
how to the get the inspiration rolling in a relationship. This is past the introduction stage and keeping it in the relationship,
hmm
keeping
hmm
him inspired.
hmm 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 Yeah. Now, here's what came to me when you were talking, and I was thinking about that, and I'm going to I'm going to make sure, and I hope she corrects me if I'm wrong, but Ayanla Van Zant,
Mm-hmm.
who has been very transparent with her work and just helping people, and she's doing a great job. Here's what she said that I thought was interesting. She was married twice. I don't know if she married a third time, but I know she was married twice. And here's what she says about her relationship. She said, I married the same man twice. Okay. And that's it. That's an underlying thread in some of the women that I've talked with. One lady who was quite open about it, and I appreciate women. Women are so transparent a lot of times, more so than men would be. Okay, because men, we have a tendency to pretend. You know, it's like in health issues, women outlive men oftentimes because men don't go and get themselves the treatment and the service that they need. We pretend that we're okay when we're really not. So what she said was, and this is the underlying thread that another woman said to me. She said, and she was actually, I think, about to get married a third time. But she said, I married the same man the second time. She said, you would have thought I would have seen certain things. And as I begin to process that and think about that, what happened?
Yeah, I think Dr. Love froze up.
I froze up.
I think we
Well,
lost him.
let me unfreeze. My word.
Huh?
You can still hear me?
What did you say? And I have to be careful because I'm on. Okay, so we lost Dr. Love. And I was talking to my engineer. So if you was like, I'm like, what's going on? Trying to figure out what's going on and trying to get Dr. Love back. Um, First, let me make sure he knows that he's not still live. Technical issues. This is what happens when you're live. Okay. Okay, so hoping everything is okay. Um, because as we know, we're in different locations. So I'm hoping that everything is good with him. Um, so we were talking about um, keeping a man inspired during a relationship. So trying to, figure that out. He was talking about a woman choosing the same type of man. And that could be an issue for some women where you choose the same type of man and you're expecting to get different results and how to identify um, why you're choosing that type of man. Because there is a reason why you are. Is it a cultural thing? I hear girls sometimes say, oh, I only date um, ball players, or I only date um, businessmen, or I only date thugs, and everything like that. So with that comes a certain type of personality and persona. So if that is not working out, then you may need to reconsider um, the type of man that you were choosing. So I kind of got where he was going in that line. I'm hopefully he'll come back on in the next few minutes and he can discuss that a little bit further. But I'm really interested in what he has to say about the other two points. So let me just check here. Okay, so he is aware. Okay. Okay. So trying to get him back on. I think this is a good time to go to commercial so we can get our co-host back on so he can finish discussing his topic. So we will be back in 30 seconds, hopefully with both myself and Dr. Love. See you in 30.
From one-on-one executive coaching to our business building concierge service, Venture Ready helps entrepreneurs, startup executives, and business owners build, scale, and run their businesses using techniques that support stability and long-term growth. Through the Career GPS radio show and High Tea with Me TV program, we promote smart business strategies for the real world. Then, in our one-on-one coaching programs, we help entrepreneurs go beyond the vision board to realize their big vision into a tangible business with a promising future. If you're waiting to feel legit, here's the thing: you have to legitimize yourself. It's time to stop treating your business like a hobby. Get real, it's your career. So let me ask you, are you venture ready?
Okay, so we're back. Without Dr. Love for the moment, but he's coming back on. So just to take the summation from the advertisement, are you venture ready? So are you ready for your next venture, being a relationship or for your business? That's the number one question. Are you ready for it? Are you ready to take the steps that are needed to have a healthy relationship? Part of it is working on yourself, but part of it is also choosing a healthy partner who is willing to work and change as well. So you have to take that, kind of with a grain of salt. Is who are you choosing? Are you choosing the same person or the same type of personality? If so, why? Is it your methodology? As we stated before the commercial, do you only date thugs? Do you only date ball players? Um, are you dating a certain type of personality all of the time? And what is the reason why you're choosing that type of personality? And since Dr. Love is here, I'm going to sit down and let him continue.
Okay. Yeah, you were bringing up some good points, Miss Katrina, in terms of what you're selecting, uh, who you're attracting, because as it was said, the Van Zant said, as well as another lady that I interviewed, I married the same man twice. Well, we know that's impossible. Every man is different. Every woman is different. However, what was the same attributes, the same behaviors, the same mindsets, the same disciplines or the lack thereof. So, as someone said to me, I took time and I began to work on myself. And that's good for starters. But more importantly than working on yourself, you've got to begin to understand yourself. See, the Bible even says that in all thy getting, get understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're attracting a certain individual and the same behaviors, the same responses, the same problems arise, that's an indication that there's something here that we're not understanding. Okay. And that was the amazing thing that I heard about a spider. If a spider is not injured, let's say if a spider is not injured, he will spawn a perfect web. But if you take the spider and you stick a pin in him, or if you break off a part of his legs where he's injured but not dead, he will spin a web with the flaws that resemble his personal injury. No injury, perfect web. Injury, a web that reflects his personal injury. You see. So the reflection is an indication of something going on inside of me. And I like to say it like that. Something going on inside of me. And that's why we want to begin to understand ourselves. And that takes a willingness to look at your strengths as well as your weaknesses. And we all have some. And we indicated, and I thought that was worth reminding you, that a mistake is simply this: a flaw or a tendency, something that you have, and you're not willing to look at it, improve, or disassemble it and get rid of it, just abandon it. See, once it's brought to your attention, there has to be a willingness to deal with it. It's just like in business. If you're not able to perform a particular task, your business is not going to say, I understand that you're not able to do this, and I'm going to thrive anyhow. The business says, if you don't have the skill set to pull off this particular task, you're going to have to go somewhere to someone, and you're going to have to make this particular task present in order for the business to survive and thrive. Same way in life. There's no excuses, there's only results. And you don't want to provide the reason why this is there. You want to begin to analyze it and look at it and see if you can change the result, because that's what we want. We want the result. So here's what I say to women and men all the time when it comes down to the relationship. Until you get married,
Mm-hmm.
there's always an opportunity to back up. I say it all the time. See, if you come into this relationship, oftentimes we come in too far, too fast, too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I just wrote this today. When you're infatuated with a person, you have a tendency to simplify the faults and the shortcomings that they have. Oh, it's not that bad. And when you spend any length of time together, you begin to magnify them. Simplify at the beginning, which allows you to look over all the mistakes, looking over all the shortcomings, willing to go past it. And then when you really get in it, then you begin to magnify. They begin to become magnified. Okay? So it's important to know, if his breath stinks at the beginning, it's still going to be stinking in the middle.
That is true. Um,
Okay?
but for me, and that's why I'm saying that's where communication comes in. Because if you're with him, his breath is thinking in the beginning, you should be able to kindly say to him, eventually, um, your breath is not too fresh, to work on that flaw. Because yeah, you made a good point in the beginning. When you're in the honeymoon phase, everything they do to you is cute. Everything they do is cute,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is like, oh, it's so cute. But after a while, some things that they do, I can't even say simplify. It's just you. It was just all cute. It was all wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when real life hits you in the everyday
Mm-hmm.
with this person, um, again, like you said, so those things that were cute is highlighted, like
Mm-hmm.
because when you're dating too, also too when you're dating someone, the expectation is different. We're dating.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get into a commitment, and we're in a marriage, for some, we were living in two different houses. So I didn't see that he didn't take out the trash, or whatever. But when we get married, that's a big deal for a man to take out the trash. Not for
Mm-hmm.
all women, but for most.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes an issue. And so that's where the communication, okay, can you please take out the trash?
Mm-hmm.
This is something that, some things are just expectations. If you have a father in the house or a male in the house and they always took out the trash, then that's going to be that person's expectation as a woman. So
Mm-hmm.
have that, this is my expectation. This is how this was always done. And then maybe in his house, anybody put out the trash. So maybe there needs to be some compromise when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to those things. Like, okay, well, this week I'll take out the trash. Next week you do. We share it like, we did. Or that could be a deal breaker for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
No, the dude takes out the trash, and everything like that. We're in a relationship, things like that. Um, because you have to talk about the issues, um, and everything like that. And there are some issues that are unique to a relationship
Mm-hmm.
that you may not know. And let's just say you're living the Bible lifestyle where you weren't living with this person prior to getting married. There are certain things you're not going to know. The
Mm-hmm.
best way, I always said, the best way to get to know somebody is to live with them, and not just in a romantic. Because I had roommates, and I was like, I realized these were my best friends, and I realized I never knew them until I actually lived with them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, seeing
Mm-hmm.
them day in and day out, seeing how they carry themselves in life, how they keep something clean. I discovered that all women don't cook when I started living with other females.
Mm-hmm.
Um, never took the time to cook, never wanted to cook. Mom just never did because they didn't have an interest. They could have been the youngest. They could have just, or maybe their mom couldn't cook.
Mm-hmm.
These certain things, or maybe their dad cooked. Because my uncle is a chef, so he did a lot of cooking because that's what he did. That's what he loved. So you never really get to know someone until you're under that same roof.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that our conversations is to get women in a healthy relationship, but ultimately married.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
that's
those that
why I
want to
was
be
saying,
married, for those that want to be married, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because I
For those
always,
that want to be married,
mm-hmm.
um, and everything, or even just have because people that don't want to get married might want to live in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but just don't want the piece of paper or feel like that. So is the keeping the inspiration through, because I feel like once you get into you have the little getting to know you phase, and I know your representative that you bring while we're dating. let's
Mm-hmm.
let's let's keep it real with that. But now we're in this relationship, we're in this household together. I see that as a phase of you having to truly learn that person,
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that. And ideally, when you were dating more than one person. So now you're split between Johnny and Harry and Luke and John and everything like that. Now you're focused basically just on Luke. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have that buffer, or things like that. Or as we know in relationships, you might be hanging out with your girlfriend. You're not hanging out with them as much. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that buffer. You don't have the distractions or the static that is kind of polluting some of the water, so you don't see clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, one of the things that is important, and I think we really cleared it up for those for women. I realize not every woman wants a relationship to end in marriage. My goal is marriage, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a coach for just every woman and any woman. Is if she's interested in a committed, serious relationship that ends in marriage, I'm your man. And it's important to have a coach because you get a chance to talk with someone one on one with your specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's so important. Okay. As I said to women all the time in my survey, have you ever taken a course on love, men, and romance? Oftentimes, I just did the survey the other day. Oftentimes, three of the women said no, never took a course. I read books on relationship, but haven't taken a course. And it's important because what you really want to understand when we talk about marriage, there's different stages of getting to know you in the relationship. And each stage we build upon the next one. Okay. I tell my children, my wife and I, same thing to my children. If you want to marry this man, show me his parents, show me his family, and I can tell you who you're marrying. Because most people think I'm marrying him. No, you're not marrying him. You're marrying the family. He happens to be the one that you're going to live with and plan out this life with and have these children with, but you're marrying the family. Because as one gentleman said to me, he said, "Do you know your great grandfather?" "No, I do not." Chances are you don't know him, but his nose is sitting on your face. You have the same eyes as your grandfather. You have the same eyes as your great. See, in the DNA and in the genes, I am a version of my father. Can't get around it. So when you marry, you got to understand you're marrying the family, but you want him to have put himself in the light of having his best foot forward. And that's why I use the term, has he shown up powerfully in his life? Has she shown up powerfully in her life? Okay, that's the start of it. Okay, and then when we go to the next level, okay, see the beauty of the relationship, and a lot of people don't realize it, is that in the dating is the getting to know you, and then the romance part of it is we have the getting to know you, and then we have the transforming you. I'm not transforming you. I'm participating in your transformation. Okay. See, so there are adjustments that are being made in the right out of the beginning to date. Let me just say this right quick. The purpose of dating, a lot of people don't really understand the purpose of dating. The purpose of dating is to find out what you like and what you don't like in a mate. Okay. You may date a man and he's not the one, but he has some qualities and some characters that you like in your mate. You're learning what you like and what you don't like. And the romantic part of it is where transformation is taking place. Where are you interested enough? Do you care enough? See, that's where the relationship either sinks or swims. Do you care enough? Because each one, the man or the woman, but oftentimes it's the man. When you get into the relationship and he no longer cares enough. See, so that's why we got to really always understand the progression of it. Because if we're progressing right, it's like the mind. Once a mind is expanded, it can never go back to its original state. See, once the relationship is developed and transformed as it's supposed to be, it can never go back to its original state. See, so we don't have to worry about the hypotheticals. Okay, there's certain things that will take place in him that he can never go back from it. There's certain things that will happen in her that she can never go back from them, because it becomes a part of you. And that's why when you look at his family, you use the example of trash. When you find out who put out the trash in your family, How did y'all handle trash day? You just want to know. How did your mother and father pay their bills? Did they sit down and pay them together? Did dad pay them by himself? Did mom pay them? Just finding out how I was raised with my grandmother. Well, how did your grandmother pay her bills? How did your grandfather? I was raised by my. How were the business of life? How was it handled and carried out? You can get all of that just in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You can get most of it in the communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the reason you want to begin to know that as you begin to have your best foot forward, a better me makes a better you. And you begin to ask the right questions to begin to know if this person that you're beginning to consider marrying his family, is the family going to be what you need? Are you going to be able to live with that mother-in-law if she's there, or that father-in-law? Because that's that's how it is. I said to my daughter when she got married, I said to my daughter, I said, remember, you're not marrying your father. Okay, know that. I have some great qualities you want in him. I have some things that you would like to see, and I applaud you and I agree with you on that. But remember, you're not marrying your father, because the last thing I want her to do, and I remind her of it, my father wouldn't do that. My father didn't do that, because that's her first. I'm her first interaction with a man, and she's going to measure the men in her life by me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but he's not me. But he also can possess some of the qualities. That's what I talked about in the dating. The dating is where you begin to find out, how was your father? How was your mother? How was things handled? And as I
Mm-hmm.
shared with you, as I shared with women before, you don't need a whole, you don't need all these ingredients in a man. I narrowed it down to a few: integrity,
Mm-hmm.
testosterone, a real man. He 100% man, not no ifs on the no ifs there. Has developed his ability to think. See, you just you just got basic information, whether he was tall or short, whether he was good looking or not so attractive. If you got integrity, if you got testosterone, if you got commitment, if you got faithfulness, you've got the ingredients for the transformation to take place. Because here's what happens in a marriage: for this cause to come together, leaving father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
You're the
And
one.
I have
Go
to.
ahead.
We're at the half hour mark. That's what I told you. It might have to be a point, um, three, a part three and part four, which we will take up next month. I think we got to the root of the thing, because I believe we
Hmm.
kind of was hanging there. But now we're going into a different segment that I think
Hmm.
can be carried
Yeah. Yeah.
on
I
its
think we
own
got a
and
good
not leaving people
foundation
with
here.
a
We got a
cliffhanger.
foundation.
Um, but I have to be mindful of the time for our viewers as well as us. We put in long hours on these days, so I want to make
Hmm.
sure um, that we are mindful of that. But great points. I'm so happy that we continued the conversation. Um, if you have any questions, please do drop them into any platform that you are on. Um, I will make sure that both Dr. Love and I review them, and that could be also something that we address during, um, you know, conversations in the future, because I want to make
Yes.
sure that I am answering, and that we are answering what you need, whether it's business, whether it's the business of love and romance, So please feel free to ask your questions. If you are replaying it, and if you are replaying it, just type replay in the comments so we know
Hmm.
that you weren't there live. But we still, even on a replay, if you have questions, we want to make sure we address them because we are coaches and that's what we do. And we want to make sure that we answer your questions.
Hmm. We want you to win.
Yes, yes. So that being said, good night, good night, good night. Dr. Love, if you have something closing, you can do that. And then we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week. I always like to say, remember, there's no way to love. Love is the way.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye
Goodbye for
bye.
now.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of High Tea with me. To be a sponsor or a guest, contact us at info@ventureready.net. Thank you again, and we'll see you